Welcome to That's Camellia podcast. Hey, we're going to unpack some of those questions that you have. We're going to interview some guests and let's have a conversation. Come on, enjoy the show. Welcome back to That's Camellia podcast. So I have with me today is my husband, Savern Varnado. We've been married for almost 17 years. We have 3 beautiful daughters. And this is probably third time that we've done an episode together, babe?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is rare. This is a rare treat. Let's get right into it. We're talking about pride. What has pride cost you? Remember last week we talked about thoughts. Everything starts with a thought. And anytime that we entertain a thought too long, we will have actions to follow. So, babe, pride, has it cost you anything?
That's a loaded question, but I would say yes. And anybody who would disagree, I would say that that's a perfect example of pride. It's cost me time. It's cost me money. It's cost me experiences. It's cost relationships. So it costs a lot, for sure.
I'm glad you brought that up because pride is significant. It can have significant damages in our lives. In like you mentioned, relationships, our careers, our families, our lives. So one thing that I wanted to highlight is missed opportunities for growth. Pride can cost you a missed opportunity because you think you all that. I mean, it could prevent people from acknowledging that you have weaknesses or from seeking help that you actually need. It's like a hidden type of personal thing that we get all up in ourselves, and we don't know how to adapt or accept that help. What do you think?
I think you're right. I like to think about it sort of like warts, right? Warts, exactly. Nobody wants to see or have someone see their warts. So they cover it up, right? Because they're prideful. Or maybe they're either ashamed. But I can give you an example of that. A few years ago, quite a few years ago, I thought I had it all together as it relates to managing finances. Of course, we make, blessed to have a good salary and good compensation. But I wasn't managing it well, quite honestly. I didn't have a strategy from week to week, from month to month, year to year. But one day, I heard one of my friends talk about, his strategy, a spreadsheet in particular. Now, of course, I had tried different kind of spreadsheets and budgets and all that. What was significant for me was this person was relatively younger than me, just as accomplished, if not more accomplished than I was in my career. So I saw the results of the decisions and the strategy that he made. Now, at the time, I had a horrible credit score. You remember that, right?
Yes, I do.
And I had to lay aside my pride and say, am I going to still hide my warts and continue to struggle with my credit rating and just mismanaging my money? Or am I going to, step up, lay aside my pride, take the good education and apply it to my life? And I have to say, since that time, we've been able to do some things that, quite honestly, we haven't imagined that we could do. And I owe a lot of that to, at least in this example, of laying aside pride.
That's good. That's a really good example because you're right. We don't want anyone to see our failures or any imperfections, right?
Right.
So that's real good. So in that same example, did you feel like, did the pride cause you any type of isolation? Did you feel isolated, alone by yourself? Like you were the only one dealing with this?
I didn't feel alone, but because of my pride, I didn't want to share my deficiencies or inefficiencies with anyone, including you. So I battled it on my own. I had to, at least I thought I had to figure it out on my own. And I think, pride, particularly for men, we usually say, we got this, and screaming for help inside.
That's good.
And I think, it takes a lot of courage to admit that, hey, look, I'm wrong. And, when we think about it, that also is associated with the time lost. I mean, think about the years that we didn't have good credit and how we probably overpaid for things that we shouldn't have paid for, or we didn't qualify for things that we would have otherwise qualified for. So lost time, missed opportunities as well could be associated with that.
Oh, that is so good. Okay, so we're still talking about pride. What does it cost you? Like men, women also, we deal with pride. we deal with pride. And so unlike men, you might not want to share, but I know with women, we are ready. They were like screaming like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. Someone help me. And when you're dealing with pride within, as a male, as the man of the house, tell me how that affects your health. Any consequences within your health or within relationships with me, relationships with our daughters, with your brothers, your family.
Well, I think what I would owe to a successful relationship and marriage with you and with our children is having a level of vulnerability and transparency, right? In that I don't have it all together.
And being willing to say it.
And be willing to say it, but also be willing to ask for help. When we do the spreadsheet, regardless of how much money I make versus you make, I'm always coming to you. You're going to generally see things that I don't see and valuing the opinion of others. Pride gets right in the middle of you trying to value the opinion of others. In fact, it dissuades you from valuing the opinions of others because it suggests that you got everything that you need.
Like you got it all together.
Like you got it all together. Yeah. And, I think for men, ego, pride, they can be interchangeable at times. They could be our worst enemy. And particularly from a health perspective, I mean, if we're thinking about African American men and stress associated with it, when we have so much pride that we're going to hold all of this, it's almost like I imagine trying to hold up this big building, even if I had the strength, it could only be momentarily that I can hold that up before it comes crashing down on me. The more help I get, the better it is to manage that. And I think when we try to be Superman, which is kind of in our DNA, it's okay to be Clark Kent sometime too.
I think Clark Kent is sexy. So, well, let's go. But I want to go back into the health consequences that sometimes happen with pride. So, stress and pressure associated with pride will take a toll on you. It can take a toll on your mental, on your physical. So, have there been times where it was your pride that you have related it to any health issues that are going on? And not only with you, if it wasn't been with you, what about your dad, your mom?
Yeah, no, I've just seen men who, because of pride or the unwillingness to disclose or to step aside or seek help, they sought it in other ways, whether that's in infidelity, whether that's in, alcoholism, whether that is in, other indulgences. That is certainly a byproduct of pride. In fact, pride, if we look at it from a relationship, I can have two women. I got it like that.
No, you can't.
You can't. You're not gonna know. Right? Exactly. But those are kind of the things that are associated with pride as well. So
thinking that you can.
Yeah. So your mental health is distorted, right? And then you get to a point where you can no longer juggle what you thought you might be able to juggle, right? And that weighs on you. So then you might hear about, I've had friends who, snap on their wives, literally don't come home again, right? Because they can't manage that. And the culprit, more times than not, has been pride.
That's when it boils down to. That's when you have time to sit with that and realize that, oh, this is pride. This is all about me. But that takes some time, doesn't it? I mean, you have to be willing to sit there with that and take the necessary actions. So when we're talking about that with damaged relationships, so pride can make a relationship strained because some people are unwilling to apologize or accept blame, accept fault. It's like saying, okay, I'd rather let me just say I'm sorry now, instead of saying, nope, it's not my fault. And then your relationship is strained with whether that's your child or your brother or your other family members. What do you think?
I agree. I think my relationship with my daughters, and I have great relationships, for the most part, there's a direct correlation to them seeing me as strong as they need to see their father, but also as transparent. I've said on many occasions to each of my daughters, I'm sorry. I messed up. I didn't get it right. What do you think about it, right? When we've been raised to, especially with our parents, you don't have to do what I say. You don't do what I do, but you better do what I say, right?
Right.
So I have taken a different approach to that. I think, but I think the reason for that is I messed up so much, right? I made so many mistakes, and when I think about the thing that I, from a spiritual perspective, is always seeking wisdom, divine wisdom, and part of that divine wisdom or maturity is like, bro, you don't have it together. You ain't gonna never have it together, and it's okay not to have it together. I share with my friends all the time. We all have faults. We all are distressed in some way, form or another. So the quicker we acknowledge that, the better. And to your point, pride prevents that and extends that time.
I agree with you.
So overall, pride can sometimes serve as a source of motivation and confidence. It's essential to strike a balance and recognize when it's causing more harm than good. Learning to cultivate humility and empathy can help mitigate the negative effects of pride in our lives.
And you are so good at calling this out in my life when you're like, nope, Camellia, you're wrong. You're wrong. Take accountability for it. I think we need someone. We need somebody in our life to do that. Sometimes your spouse is the only person who can do it.
Yep.
And that's all he said is, yep. Well, thank you so much, babe, for being on my show. Remember, pride can cost you something. So don't have that bought lesson. Take the borrowed lessons.
All right, that's all we have for today. Join me next time on That's Camellia podcast, where we're going to continue our conversations. Make it a great day.